Hello and welcome back to the channel from a different setting. I am currently in Berwick, so yeah, we're not in the usual spots. We are currently in a caravan bedroom. But anyway, we're going to talk about Sunderland, we're going to talk about transfers today and, provide a bit of an update because we're heading towards deadline day and plenty of things are happening. Obviously, we played Huddersfield last night, so we will touch on that as well. But I'm going to talk about Abdul Fatawu, potential update there. We're going to talk about the Ballard injury. We're going to talk about John Lucumi. We're also going to talk about Axel Disasi and a new centre-back link, Disasi Bakawa. I think I've said that right. We'll also see Mepham potentially getting a move on. And then we'll talk a little bit about the Huddersfield game. So plenty to dive into today. So if you enjoy this video, please leave a like, please subscribe, and also comment. Let me know what you think about these transfers. But let's quickly run through where Sunderland are in the transfers sagas heading into deadline day. So one, Abdul Fatawu. Now, there's not an update per se in the sense that it affects Fatawu, but I think indirectly it does. Leicester have said that Khannous is not for sale anymore. They've satisfied their PSR needs. They've satisfied their need to sell players, which therefore leads me to think, well, they're either playing really, really, big hardball for the teams that are after Khannous and Fatawu, who's obviously been linked with Sunderland. Well, both have been linked with Sunderland, to be fair. Or they really, really don't want to sell and they're going to try and keep these players for their promotion push. It's unclear. But what I would say is when you're in the Championship, and we know this being Sunderland fans, if you get offers from Premier League clubs that are too difficult to turn down, you generally accept them. So, they're talking 30-ish million for, Fatawu, 30-ish million for Khannous. I would probably think that if Leicester were to get £60 million for two players, they would probably think about selling. But maybe they look at them as being imperative to their promotion chances. I mean, Fatawu scored an absolutely gorgeous goal at Charlton away at the weekend, which if you haven't seen, please check that out. That's clearly why Sunderland are interested in him. But yeah, this is interesting. I think it's possibly Leicester bargaining for more money more than anything else. They haven't really done much in the transfer market in terms of income, and so maybe they are thinking, well, we can't afford to sell and then add more players to our squad because they already need to add a few. So that's one to watch out for, but looks like Fatawu, potentially Leicester, are looking at keeping their star players, so that could be a blow to Sunderland, and we still need another forward player. So what's the space when it comes to Sunderland and forward players? Let's talk as well about Ballard's injury, and I think this shows that the frailties within the squad. Ballard has been exceptional at the start of the season, and then he picks up an injury after like 8 minutes at Burnley. To me, ruins the game from a Sunderland perspective. I think we lost a bit of rhythm from there. I thought we looked dangerous in the first 10 minutes of that game, and we didn't after that point, and the threat that Ballard has is huge. But I think this also shows why we need reinforcements, because we can't rely on Ballard to play 38 games. He just is too injury prone, and that's just been a factor of his whole career at Sunderland. He's generally struggled to string together, a lot of games consecutively, and that's always going to be a problem. But with his style of play, you can see that he's very physical, very aggressive, so I can understand how he gets injured so much. And the injury news isn't bad. 3 weeks is perfectly fine, but I think it just shows, again, the frailties in the squad. If we'd lost Ballard for, say, 3 months, that would have been a massive blow. So I still think Sunderland need to bring in another centre-back at least before the end of the deadline, but I mean, there's possibly even a reason to bring in 2, maybe. I don't know. But I would definitely need to see 1 come in. And we're going to talk about potential centre-back incomings now. So we'll move on. Bologna are reportedly searching for a John Lucimi replacement. I think there's a strong feeling from everyone that that deal gets done. I think Lucimi wants to move to Sunderland. I think Sunderland want to sign him. And I think Bologna, don't want to necessarily let him go, but he's only got 12 months left. Can they really afford to turn down like 25 to 30 million euros for a player with 12 months left? Probably not. So I think this deal probably gets done. Lucimi is put his fork in the ground. He knows where he wants to go. Sunderland have stuck with this transfer for a long time as well. So my gut feeling on that one is that we probably see this go to deadline day. I think this will probably be a long-lasting saga when we finally get Lucimi through the door at the end of the window. But definitely one to watch out on and see, if Bologna can get a replacement, then that speeds up that process and possibly even brings the price down a little bit. Fingers crossed, because we are talking about a serious amount of cash for Lucimi. Axel Disasi from Chelsea. This is a link. Sunderland and Bournemouth have both been linked. And it feels like Sunderland and Bournemouth have been linked a lot with the same players in this summer window. But Disasi, centre-back who can also play right-back. He's got quite a bit of Premier League experience as well. He's proven, it's fair to say, at this level. And I think, a right-sided centre-back, it is an area that Sunderland could look at adding, although we do have Mukiele, who played pretty well against Huddersfield, more on that later. But, yeah, this is an interesting transfer. I think Disasi definitely is on the fringes at Chelsea. I think he definitely will move before the window's out. And I think if there is a chance that Sunderland can pick him up, I think they would be interested in him because he's a quality player and he would add a lot to this team. So another one to watch out for. If other defensive targets don't come off, maybe the dominoes will fall and Sunderland could potentially end up with Disasi instead. Disasi Bakawa, he has also been linked with Sunderland and Bournemouth again. So clearly that both teams are in the same sort of market. This one feels more like an agent link to me. I can see Bournemouth being linked and they seem like favourites, and then Sunderland have kind of been brought in. So whether or not that's to, rack up a potential increase in transfer fee or wages or whatever. But I feel like this is less likely for Sunderland than all the ones we've discussed so far. But it is one worth mentioning. And also let's talk about our old friend Chris Mepham. He's been linked with a move to Rangers, £12 million. And I think that sort of fee shows why Sunderland have not been interested. I saw Keith Downey had said on the Away the podcast by Roker Report that Sunderland had sort of decided that Chris Mepham wasn't going to be the right target for them, and I wonder if a little bit of that comes to the price because we spent about 12 million on Alderete, and I think it's fair to say that Alderete is a bit more proven and probably is overall the slightly better player, although we've only seen a small sample size, but Alderete has got a bit more top flight experience than Mepham. So that's an interesting one there. I certainly can see why Mepham hasn't moved yet if Bournemouth are looking for a fee north of 10 million. I would have had Mepham down for somewhere between like £5 or £6 million, especially since he's in the last year of his contract. And let's talk a little bit about the Huddersfield game last night. And look, I didn't want to focus too much on this because it almost feels like a side note. Sunderland took the game, about as seriously as they normally take early game League Cup matches, and yeah, Mukiele and Masauku look good at the back. I think that's a positive. You've got two players there who, haven't played much. I don't even know if they've played any preseason games, to be honest, but yeah, haven't played much. They come in, they did all right, and they'll benefit from playing minutes, so that's a big tick in the box there that we've got there. And it'll be interesting to see on Saturday whether or not either of them can get minutes against Brentford. We also saw Isidor impress in the second half. He moved over to the left side, and you wonder, could that be a tactic for us this season? We are a little bit short on the left side, especially with Remain Mundo's injury, so could he move across there? That'll be interesting to see. Important for Guiu to get Guiu. I always call him the wrong name. You know who I mean, the guy who got on loan from Chelsea. He scored a good header, so that's a positive for him to get off the mark, and, all strikers have now scored a goal this season, so that's a big win. But I think it's very disappointing to lose the game. I think Sunderland should have had more than enough to win it. I think some of the fringe players didn't necessarily take their opportunities, but look, it's really, really hard in those games because you're playing with other fringe players, and when you're playing with other fringe players, it's unlikely this team has ever really played together before. So I can see why it's a struggle in these sort of games, and I can see why, it's difficult to impress when it's such a makeshift team. Whereas if you slotted, say, Patrick Roberts or Dan Neil into the Sunderland 11 with the quality players we have in that 11, I think they would fare much better than they did in this game. But yeah, I don't think anybody grabbed this game by the scruff of the neck and really said, yeah, you need to put me in the starting 11. So yeah, I don't think there's massive food for thought in terms of any of those players bringing in the team. I'm surprised Enzo Lefebvre played so much because I actually thought he might have started on Saturday. It feels like playing like 100 minutes or whatever he played, and then starting on Saturday feels pretty unlikely. So I suspect he'll be on the bench. So I think Sunderland will probably line up the same way on Saturday with a centre-back alteration in whoever that is. I am not 100% sure. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Please subscribe to the channel as well. Please let me know what you think about all these transfer links in the comments as well. And we'll catch you for another video later in the week to preview the big clash against Brentford at the Stadium of Light this weekend.